All right, welcome back. Well, summer, unfortunately, as we know, does not last forever, and that means getting back to school.
It most certainly does. It also means getting important school supplies ready and items to keep your kids healthy.
And joining us with more on that is Dr. Ali. Dr. Ali, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Very exciting time. I know
it is.
Getting school supplies was one of my favorite things.
And this year, more people, spend a lot of money on school supplies than other years.
Oh, yeah. And they want to buy the right things, right, for their kids, make sure they're prepared, but also being healthy. And you say backpacks, picking the right backpack, really important.
People don't realize that a lot of kids, even though we're in the digital age, they still have textbooks. They have workbooks, even softcover workbooks. They add to the weight. And if you're wearing an improper backpack, it can cause a lot of problems. You see kids leaning to the side. You can even see neuropathic pain because if it's improperly fitted, it can press on certain nerves. You can get, back pain. You can get nerve tingling in the fingers even.
Wow.
So it's really important, especially if you have scoliosis, to have a properly fitting backpack. And the rule of thumb is 2, 4, and 10. So 2 inches below the shoulders was where you should start the backpack, and 4 inches below the waist. That's the proper positioning of a backpack. Some people like to have the waist buckle as well to really get that stability. That's not really that important if you have good, thick padding with the straps. But also another thing is that 10. The backpack should never be weighing 10%, more than 10% of a child's body weight. And they've done studies on this. They actually take backpacks, put them on a scale, and they're carrying 15% of their body weight in their backpack.
Wow.
And that's just too much. In those cases, you're better off taking the extra stuff and just carrying it in a shopping bag with you.
Right. You bring up a good point because I've seen some kids get on and off buses. They're either leaning forward or either they're leaning back because it weighs entirely too much. What else is important that parents need to know?
Well, the CDC is talking about vaccines. Vaccines really, they have gone down since the pandemic. We need to make sure that everybody's up to date with vaccines. Flu and COVID. The CDC shows that 37% of the cases we're seeing right now are the KP3 variant, which is a new variant. We have a new vaccine, which is very effective, and it's approved for kids 5 and above, as long as their last dose was 2 months earlier. So it's really important to get that this fall as well. But another thing I want to say is something you should not put on your to-do list is these cell phones. And we just heard about the governor, talking about reducing cell phone usage in schools. And there's a good philosophy behind that because the distraction, cyberbullying, it's just so pervasive. And to have that cell phone in front of you, as the Surgeon General's been, talking about, is just really affecting children's lives, especially in that critical time where they're trying to learn.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's tough. And what do you recommend for parents? Is there a happy medium? I know the easiest solution, you can't have this, you're not bringing it to school, but that's unlikely if the child is used to having a phone. Parents like that medium of connection. So what's the happy medium here?
And now with these cell phones, you can track where your child is. That's a sense of security for parents, especially if they're walking to school. So you can't eliminate it altogether. But I think during the class time, putting the phone away, in a cubby or something, I think it's a good way to do it. You can then use it after class is done or something. Another thing is that the blue light emitted from these devices, children are more sensitive. The retina is more sensitive to these devices emitting that blue light. And, you can get a blue light blocker, but just the best thing to do is to avoid using it, especially at nighttime, because it disrupts the production of melatonin, which, regulates the sleep-wake cycle. So if kids are in their bed, they're looking at their phone, not only is just, wasting time and causing the risk of, scrolling through social media, which is not healthy, but also that blue light can affect them. It can actually cause, an increased risk of myopia or nearsightedness. So I think it's really important to, cut down the cell phone usage as much as possible. And schools are already doing it around many states and in our state
They
as
most
well.
certainly are. Now, one of the things that I often think about is that how are these cell phones changing children as opposed to when you and I grew up going to school? There were no cell phones whatsoever.
Exactly.
I mean, so what kind of people are we creating as a result of allowing them to utilize these constantly?
Well, it's really good to have that information. They're able to look up things instantaneously. But then also you have the social media aspect, which I am noticing can cause a lot of depression, a lot of self-image issues, because, a lot of these things that they see on the screen are not reality. And also, if you go to, a lunchroom where kids are on their cell phones, they don't have that rich interaction with each other. They're just glued to their cell phones. And, that part of growing up is, super important to create that social interaction, to be able to interact with other people from different walks of life.
So you're
and you
basically
can't do that
saying
through a screen.
These social influencers really don't look like that, right?
No, not at all. Not
I
at
want to
all.
know, I had a flip phone when I was going to school, so we didn't have any of that back then. But it's a lot worse right now.
A flip phone is good. You can stay in touch. You can still have the tracking devices so parents can know where you are, but you don't have all that overwhelming social media. So if that's compromised for some parents who may opt for a more, kid-friendly phone, which is simple and not, having everything on it,
Right.
not a smartphone.
Well, a lot of important information, Dr. Ali. We really appreciate it.
Always a
especially
pleasure.
for the parents out there. Good
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.